What's up guys, Syiler here, and today we're going to be taking a look at the changes to Enhancement Shaman in Warlords of Draenor. So this might be the only one I do, but I might do the other classes, but this one will definitely be the only one I do because it's kind of my main. It's what I've been raiding on and playing the most in this expansion. So I feel like this is the one that I'm the most comfortable talking about. I might do Ret Paladin because obviously I play a bit of Ret Paladin as well. But the other classes, we'll see if I end up doing them or not, because obviously I don't play them, so my knowledge on them wouldn't be as strong as it would be for Enhance or Ret. So in this we're going to be talking about the talent changes, the ability changes, glyph changes, all that kind of stuff. And then we'll do another one of these later on near the end of the beta, so you get an idea of like the fully finished Enhance, how it's going to launch, in Warlords Draenor. And I'll talk about like what the new rotation stuff is later on when we have a better idea of that. But for now, we're going to be taking an early look. Remember, this is early beta, so things can and will change, but it just gives you an idea of how Enhance is shaping up so far. So we're going to go through the spellbook first of all. And the rotation in general is the same. We still have Unleashed Elements, we still have Storm Strike, we still have Maelstrom stacks, we still have Lava Lash, still have Syrian Totem, still have Lightning Bolt, we still have Flame Shock. The only thing that's really changed from the rotation is we no longer have Earth Shock. That has been removed. So instead of using Earth Shock as like we've got nothing else to press, let's press Earth Shock button, we now use Frost Shock. That is we've got nothing else to press, let's use Frost Shock button. No real difference there. Obviously we don't get the I can't remember the name of the debuff, but we don't get the Earth Shock debuff anymore on the target, which reduces the damage to do. But that isn't really too big of a deal. Also, you'll notice I no longer have weapon imbues on my buffs. That isn't me being lazy, that is because they've gone. We no longer have Rockbiter weapon, we no longer have Flame Tongue weapon, Wind Fury weapon, Frostband weapon, they've all gone. Instead, we have a passive now, which is Enhanced Weapons. Imbues your weapon with the power of wind and fire. Each of your main hand weapon attacks has a 20% chance to trigger 3 attacks dealing 2,555 physical damage. Each of your offhand weapon attacks cause 567 additional fire damage based on weapon speed. So, it's cut and dry now. You no longer have to deal with putting weapon imbues on. They are just straight up Wind Furies on your main hand, Flame Tongue is on your offhand. Now, it's kind of like Paladin auras. They were cool to have, but you'd never really change them. They'd just kind of be one that you'd use in all situations. So we always use Wind Fury and Flame Tongue. We never really change from those. There'd be some times where we'd maybe put on Rockbite or a Frostbrand, but with the PvP set bonus changes, you wouldn't use Frostbrand anymore anyway. And Rockbite I've barely ever seen any use, so that isn't really too big of a deal. And Primal Wisdom is gone. If you don't know what that used to do, it was a 40% chance, I think, on attacks to restore 5% mana. So that is now gone. So when the alpha first launched with that gone, we had mana issues. They did buff our base mana regen, but it wasn't enough at first. You'd go after a couple of minutes of casting spells. But now they've increased it again, and I think we have more than enough mana regen now to do what we need to do. So that isn't really too big of an issue. Actually, that's a positive, to be honest, because there'd be times where, say for example in PvP, you'd be trying to kite away and do some heals, and get a couple of heals off, and you'd go and that'd be it. You'd have to go and hit them to get your mana back. That was literally the only way of getting mana back, because base mana regen on Enhance is awful. So now we can at least, kite around, get a couple of heals off, boom, boom, and then, look how fast it's regenerating. Now that's obviously not in combat, but it's a decent amount of mana regen. So that's gone, but that's probably for the best. Flurry has been changed. If you remember Flurry, it basically gives us increased benefits to haste when it procced, and also increased our attack speed. But that's now been changed. It now melee haste affects lower the cooldown and global cooldown of your Storm Strike, Lava Lash, Shocks, Unleashed Elements, and Fire Nova. That is awesome. I love that change so much. A lot of people are mad about that change for some reason, saying enhance will become spammy. It wasn't spammy, but enhance is definitely spammy. Like, there isn't, I'm not going to be around the bush, there isn't any like major skill to the enhanced rotation. The skill comes down to managing your cooldowns, your procs, and things like that. The general enhanced rotation is very, very basic. You can't, I'm sorry if you play enhanced, you can't deny that. But the skill comes down to, you know, the knowledge of the stats and stuff like that, managing cooldowns and using your burst properly. That's where you'll sort of outshine the other enhanced shamans. So as the tier goes along, obviously we're going to be stacking haste at first, and then we'll hit the haste soft cap. I'm not too sure what that's going to be. I'd imagine it's around a 6-second cooldown on Storm Strike, and then, you know, we'll move on to like Mastery or something. So at the moment I'm on a 6.62 second Storm Strike cooldown, so it's been reduced by 0.38 even, and that is with 13% haste. So that's pretty good. It diminishes quite hard though, so obviously the more haste we get, the less it's going to reduce the cooldowns, but it's still pretty cool. The next change up is Water Shield has gone for Enhance. Isn't really an issue. The only time we'd really use Water Shield was, as I said before, if you were using mana but you couldn't actually hit anything. That was a way of you getting mana back without actually being able, you know, without hitting anything. But now with the base mana regen being increased, we don't need Water Shield anymore. It isn't something we need in our spellbook. Searing Flame is gone. Now remember, Searing Flame isn't Searing Totem. Searing Flame is where we had to let our Searing Totem hit the target, or our Fire Totem hit the target, and it would gain us a stack of Searing Flame, and those would increase the damage done by your Lava Lash, but that's no longer the case. You can literally run up to a boss, Lava Lash it, and you'll do max damage on that Lava Lash regardless. It will always hit for the most it can hit. So you no longer need to like stack, you know, it with Searing Flames. Burning Wrath is gone, which was the 10% spell power, so it just means like a passive buff we had before is gone. Isn't too big of an issue because they are removing most of the passives and the sort of raid buffs from most classes, so isn't huge. Static Shock's gone, but I haven't actually seen them announce that Static Shock was being removed. Maybe I just missed it, but I went through all the patch notes and I couldn't actually see them say that Static Shock was being removed. But basically Static Shock was where when we hit a target with Lightning Shield on, there would be a chance for our Lightning Shield to proc and do damage. But now the only way for our Lightning Shield to actually do damage is if something hits us. Which is kind of sad. I hope that isn't the, like, Static Shock isn't meant to be removed, because otherwise it really doesn't feel like there's any point to having Lightning Shield on. Yeah, you'll maybe get like 0.0001 damage when that boss randomly autos you, but that's about it in PvE. Obviously in PvP it'll still have uses for players hitting you, but in general, I don't know why they removed that. I don't. They might as well, if they wanted to remove Static Shock because we have too many sources of damage, then they should have just changed the way it works, and hopefully that's what they end up doing, or just, you know, get rid of Lightning Shield, because there's no point. If they want to get rid of buttons that are pointless, then, like, Static Shock was the main reason we keep Lightning Shield on, you know. It wasn't because of the people hitting us, it was more of the Static Shock damage. So I hopefully they rework that, or just get rid of it or something, I don't know. Chain Heal is gone, so we no longer are able to chain heal people, but there was very, very little situations where we chain heal anyway. We still have Healing Rain, and that was our kind of go-to raid AoE spell, and single target obviously we'd use Healing Surge. So that doesn't really mean anything to us. There'd be very, very, very few times where we'd actually chain heal people. Unleashed Rage is gone, and that was the attack speed buff, and also the cast speed as well, I think it affected. Healing Tide Totem's gone as well, so we no longer had that sort of decently strong raid cooldown. Healing Tide Totem was definitely something to throw down when your raid was in danger. It did a considerable amount of healing. So that means like one less thing that we have in terms of defensives. We still have Healing Stream, but obviously Healing Tide was great, especially in PvP. I'd imagine that's quite a big hit to enhance in PvP, because it was a strong cooldown to whack down in like 2s, 3s. It'd do a good amount of healing to both of you. Shaman Rage no longer reduces mana costs, but once again with the mana regen change, that isn't really too big of an issue. Shaman Rage still does what it does before, reduces damage taken, but it also had an additional effect where it would reduce or cause some spells to have no mana cost. But that is no longer the case. Bind Elemental's gone, but let's be real, when did we ever use friggin' Bind Elemental? I think I've used that spell like twice since playing Enhance. Literally, I never ever used that spell. There was barely anything for us to bind. Stormlash Totem's gone as well. That one hurts me a little bit because it basically means we don't really bring much to a raid anymore, and that's what they're trying to do for most DPS classes, but there's some that still outshine others, like for example Warlock brings like 3 different raid buffs, health stones, demonic gateway, and then good damage as well. So hopefully Enhance has enough damage for the things that we don't bring to not be as relevant, because we bring a good amount of damage. So Stormlash is gone, and it was a really nice raid cooldown, and I imagine they just completely scrapped that. Like, that is no longer in the game. Grace of Air gives mastery and haste now, so before it would just give mastery, but now it gives 550 mastery and 5% haste. Unleashed Elements has been changed. Before it'd like force your weapon imbues to proc, but it no longer works like that. So it no longer does damage when you use it. Instead, we get a quite cool visual effect, and it increases attack speed by 6% and the damage of your next fire spell by 40%, which it always did anyway, but before it'd force your weapon imbues to proc as well, but that is no longer the case, so it no longer does any damage. So it makes it feel kind of weird. Spirit Walker's Grace is gone, so we no longer have that kind of cast on the move. We can't cast heals on the move, we can't cast Lightning Bolt on the move during like movement phases. And Lightning Bolt on the move has been removed as well, so our kind of mobile DPS has been reduced quite a lot again. It was nice while it lasted. Ancestral Swiftness now gives... oh, it's onto talents, whoopsie. So now we're onto talents. That's pretty much all the changes to Enhance in terms of the spellbook. Oh, actually there's one more, sorry. There's new passive called Lightning Strikes. Every class gets one of these, and it's a passive that gives you 5% more of a stat. So for Enhance, it's called Lightning Strikes, and you gain 5% more haste from all sources. So that's going to obviously get better as time goes on, because we're going to get like 5% more haste on each piece of gear we equipped, and it's just going to be quite nice. It means haste is my voice cracked. It means haste is very valuable for Enhance now because of the Lightning Strikes and the Flurry change. Haste is definitely... I would be very surprised if haste isn't the thing that we stack for a long time in Warlords of Draenor until we hit the soft cap. I would be extremely surprised. But we'll see. I've been wrong before. And then on to the talents. The first row is the same as it always was. I couldn't see any changes there. The second row is the same. The third row is the same. I wish they did something to the third row. The third row is so boring. It doesn't really feel very fun for Enhance. The level 60 row has been changed. Elemental Mastery is the same. Ancestral Swiftness has been changed. It's been reduced to 5% melee attack speed instead of 10. So that's a little bit of a nerf to AS. Echo has been changed as well. Before, it'd have a chance to duplicate the spell that you did. So if you did 100k Storm Strike, there was a chance that 100k could be duplicated, so you do 200k Storm Strikes. It's been changed now. Your spells and abilities have a chance to cause your next Lava Lash, Storm Strike, Frost Shock, and Fire Nova to not incur its cooldown. So basically you have a chance of being able to use Storm Strike, for example, twice. Now, one thing I haven't tested is whether this can be used with Ascendance. So for example, Windlash will have a chance of having no cooldown, but I doubt that would be the case. But you never know, I haven't tested it, so that would be something for me to test. And I'll probably test it and leave a comment or something, I'll put something in the description. but I'd imagine that's not the case. But we'll see, you never know. So apparently this spell is the way to go right now. Apparently it's very, very good. And I could see it being good. Being able to use like a double Storm Strike, double Avalanche, stuff like that is definitely not anything to shun off. Especially the double Fire Nova. Obviously we'd have more damage from the old Echo on AoE, but being able to use a double Fire Nova doesn't sound too bad either. The level 75 tier has been changed slightly as well. Rushing Streams is still the same. Ancestral Guidance has been changed. It's been nerfed quite a bit, so it's no longer anywhere near as strong as it was before. Before, you'd get 40% of the damage done and 6% of the healing done, and converted to healing, you know, up to 3 nearby injured party or raid members. But now it's down to 20%, so it's quite a significant nerf to it, to be honest. Conductivities have not really changed. It's just the maximum increase of its uptime has been reduced to 30 seconds from 40, so nothing too different there. Unleashed Fury has been changed as well. Before it'd give your weapon imbues depending on which one you had additional effects, but now it empowers your unleashed elements, increasing damage taken by the target from your lightning bolt by 30% for 10 seconds, and increasing your multi-strike chance by 5% for 8 seconds. And if you don't know what multi-strike is, it's a new stat coming in Warlords Draenor, which grants two 7.67% chances to deliver extra attacks or heals for 30% of the normal value of each target. On each target, sorry. So basically, let's show you here. See if we can get a multi-strike proc. There we go. So as you'll see, my lightning bolt multi-strike. So this first lightning bolt multi-strikes for an additional 1,555k. So it's kind of like the old Echo, but it doesn't do anywhere near as much damage. It's basically like a chance to proc a little bit extra damage on spells. So definitely a cool and definitely useful stat. Whether it's enough for us to pick up Unleashed Fury, I'm not too sure. It definitely seems useful though. Primal Elemental is still the same, and Elemental Blast still the same. And then we have the new level 100 talents. You can see these in full on Stratics, on WoW Stratics, but I'll quickly go through them. Elemental Fusion, your Lava Burst and Lava Lash increase the damage of your next strike by 50%, stacking up to 2 times. Storm Elemental Totem summons an air totem with 6,000 health at the feet of the caster, calling forth a greater Storm Elemental to hurl Gust of Wind at the caster's enemies. Each Gust of Wind does damage to the enemy and then heals all allies within 15 yards for 100% of the damage dealt. And that lasts for a minute, so it's basically a new elemental for us to use. And then Liquid Magma empowers your current fire totem with the power of lava, causing liquid magma to erupt from it toward random enemies within 40 yards every 0.5 seconds for 10 seconds. Each glob of liquid magma deals 2,756 fire damage to all enemies within 4 yards. So those are our new level 100 talents. And then we're going to take a look at the Glyphs. So this is a new glyph, reduces the cooldown of Feral Spirits by 60 and reduces the duration by 15 seconds. Whether that's going to be worthwhile or not, I'm not too sure. But Feral Spirits definitely do a lot more damage now. So I'll show you now if we can actually hit the number. So as you can see in the... They're actually hitting it. There we go. As you can see, they're hitting for... We don't actually have pet damage on, do we? Oh well, you can see the damage there. They're hitting for 19k per hit, and they hit pretty fast, so they're doing a decent amount of damage. They definitely don't do like wet noodle damage like they currently do. So whether that glyph's going to be worthwhile or not, that's going to be down to the theory crafters, the number crunchers. Feral Spirit is exactly the same glyph. Fire Elemental Totem is exactly the same. Fire Nova, it's the same. That's the same. Frost Shock, I've not actually seen if this does what it's meant to do. No, it doesn't reduce the cooldown of Frost Shock, see? That's a strange one. I'd imagine this glyph's gonna get removed because it'd be weird for it to be on like a 1 second cooldown. It'd probably be like spammable for damage, I don't know. Not too sure on that one. Glyph of Frost Flame Weapon, there we go. While your weapon is imbued with Flame Tongue Weapon, your attacks also slow the target's movement speed by 50%. So this is basically the way of getting Frostbrand on your weapon, basically. Ghost Wolf is the same, Grounding is the same. All these are the same. This is a new one. Glyph of Lava Spread, increase the radius at which Lava Lash spreads Flame Shock by 8 yards, so that's going to be pretty good on AoE fights. It's definitely going to give you that range that you need on, like, that's the bane at the moment. Tank things slightly too far away, so you just can't get the spread that you need. Lightning Shield is the same. Purging is the same. Oh, actually, is Purging new? I don't think I've ever actually used Purging. I think it's how it is right now, though. I think we already have Purging. Shamanistic Rage is new. Activating your Shamanistic Rage ability also cleanses you of all dispellable. Oh, actually, no, that's not new. This one's the one that's new. There we go. Shamanistic Resolve. Shamanistic Rage reduces damage taken by 30%, but the cooldown of Shamanistic Rage is increased by 60 seconds. So it ends up being a 60% damage reduction, but it gets an extra minute cooldown. So that's quite nice, especially if you know you're going to be just taking large amounts of damage periodically instead of like consistently. That's definitely a nice talent. Glyph of Shocks increase the range of Earth Shock, Flame Shock, Frost Shock, and Wind Shear by 5 yards, so not too bad. It's the same. I think that's an increased percentage though, or maybe it was always 25%. That's no good to us. It's no good to us. It's no good. Increase the health of your totems by 5%. That's the same, and then that is it. And then obviously we have the new Ghost Wolf animation. And then the glyphed version. It looks like that. And then the final thing is basically the new abilities of Warlords of Draenor. So when you leveled up in, for example, Pandaria, every few levels you'd get a new skill. That is no longer the case. And when you level up now, every single level you'll get a new perk. And each of these perks will do something new. So for example, Enhanced Unleashed Elements. Your Unleashed Elements ability also causes you to gain 30% increased movement speed. Improved Feral Spirits. Increase the damage of your Feral Spirits by 100%. Improved Fire Totems. You're going to get one of these perks every single time you level. And obviously at the end you'll have 10. So that's basically how they're doing it now. Instead of giving you like 3 new spells, they're just going to give us some new passives. And it's kind of cool. I would have liked one, at least, like, just new spell that's default. We don't have to talent it. Because one of my favourite spells from Mr. Pandaria was the Ascendance. Like, that is a really awesome spell. But we don't really get anything like that in Draenor. So that is basically a look at Enhance. And Enhance is definitely shaping up to be a good class. I like the Flurry change. They haven't really changed the rotation too much, so the rotation's the same. If anything, the rotation will feel smoother because of haste. We will have less downtime in the rotation. At the moment on live, there's like a 2-3 second period where we have nothing to really do. But that won't be the case anymore. It's all going to come down to what the other classes have, really, whether we're a viable class or not. We look good right now, but it just depends on what the other classes can do. Because I know Mage got like a new raid buff thing that they can do, and they didn't really lose too much. So it's basically going to be whether we bring enough and do enough to be viable compared to everything else. And at the moment, I don't know. I've not really seen any of the other classes. But I'm happy with the changes. There's a couple of things that could be done differently, and hopefully they are. But overall, I like a lot of the things that have been changed to Enhance. Apart from the friggin' Ascendance animation. God damn it, why did they change the Ascendance animation? So, thanks for watching, guys. Look out for more videos coming soon. See ya!